Here, I have uh, 4 or 5 different grief rituals scheduled at different places around the world, and I have noticed this desire for this particular ritual. So I decided I wanted to speak some about the ritual and about grief itself, and different ways that we can hold and understand the holding of grief and the releasing of grief. Um, I first learned about this particular ritual when I was in Burkina Faso, West Africa, with my teacher, Malidoma Somé. And during our time over there with him, he had gotten word that a family member, an extended family member, had crossed over, and there was a grief ritual. So he was able to get permission for us to go there as a group, traveling with him to this grief ritual. And it just etched permanently in my psyche in terms of the protocols of entering ritual space in a way of honoring, expressing, releasing grief, and honoring the existence of this life. And so as we walked toward the village, we were told to line up in a certain order, with the oldest male first, descending to the youngest male, and then the oldest woman first, descending to the youngest woman. And we carried coins. And as we came into the village in a very specific, quiet procession, we walked by the grief ritual shrine. This was grief rituals in a lot of places, actually around the world, even in ancient Ireland, typically last for 3 days. And I think we were entering this ritual on day 3 that had been going on, and the call had gone out to all the surrounding villages. And so there were hundreds of people there. And to walk by the shrine, inside the shrine was a chair. Had we come the day before, the body of the deceased person would actually be sitting in the chair. It was so hot, it's 115 degrees that day, or for several days, that they had decided to transition the body to the earth in the midst of the grief ritual. But it would certainly be customary that the deceased person would sit inside the shrine in a chair, and out of the earth would be maybe branches or things that would scoop up over the top, create a type of wall, shrine there. And then there would be gatekeepers, I call them gatekeepers or soul watchers, that would stand at the threshold to the shrine. And then in the village there would be drumming and singing and eating, talking, and people milling about. And periodically people would come to the shrine to express grief or words, or and so as we walked by the shrine, we would drop these coins, and then from there move into the larger community of people. And I noticed that the family members of the person wore these blue beads around them, and each one of the family members had somebody that shadowed them, essentially walked right beside them everywhere they went. And there was, I think, a moment or two where I saw somebody, maybe the wife, running toward the shrine and going right to the edge of the shrine, where there would be an ash line going across the front. And she would be held there by the gatekeepers and by her soul watcher, as I call the person that shadowed, and then be able to wail and scream and cry, and then she'd come back into the village. And so this would go on, literally this could go on 3 days, where they would hold this vigil with the grief shrine. And so from that experience, Malidoma developed a grief ritual out of that he was able to transfer here to the West.